Alright guys, we are going to go ahead and jump right in. Today for you, I have a tutorial on how to create an insert mesh brush. And an insert mesh brush is something that you can use for a lot of different functionality. If you look in your brush palette, you're going to see stuff for inserting kind of hands, feet, heads, bodies, all sorts of stuff that you can insert onto your mesh, even mechanical parts for hard surface sculpting or modeling. Really, there's no end to the possibilities that you can use an insert mesh for. But today what we're going to do is create an insert eye mesh brush. And you might think, oh, that's just a sphere, right? Like, no big deal. I think I can handle that. I think there's already a brush that actually does that. Follygon is what you're thinking. Yes, there is, but this one's going to be a little bit different. It's going to include eyelids, and it's going to include some topology that'll help you later down the road. Go ahead and just grab a sphere 3D and click and drag that on your screen. Press T to go into edit mode, and go ahead and make that a poly mesh 3D. After you do that, you can go ahead and click X. I just like to keep X symmetry on at all times unless I specifically want to turn it off. And I'm just going to go ahead and select my Follygon matte black and white clay material down here. Both of these clay materials you can find down in the description. You can download them for free. But we are just going to go ahead and call this our eye. And essentially the objective here is, let me just go ahead and show you this Folly eye brush. You can go ahead and click and drag this on your mesh to pull up an eye. And if you look here at this geometry, this topology flow that we have going on, sure, the eye isn't too clean, that's fine, that's no big deal. But if we look at this upper and lower eyelid here, and I'm going to press D, which is your dynamic subdivision, so pressing D will turn that on if you don't have any subdivision levels, and Shift D will step that back. But when I do that, if you notice, let's go ahead and separate this eye from our eyelid. I'm just going to do a split hidden. And now that eye is a separate tool here, and I'm just going to click that eye and hide it. If you look here at this this topology flow that I have going on, no, it's not super clean because I did it rough and quick, and it serves its purpose, but pressing D, when I smooth that dynamically, these edge loops that I have around these areas is actually going to help it conform, turn that eye back on, to this lid shape. And it's really basic, it's just primitive shapes here, but that's essentially what we're looking for. We want something that's going to suit our needs for as many situations as possible. So I am going to go ahead and delete all that, and we are going to start fresh. So we have our eye here, or our sphere, that is going to become our insert eye mesh brush. And you're going to be able to create your own, or if you want, you can go ahead and check down in the description and just download this brush that I've already made for you. So no problem there, but I at least want you to know how to do this, so in the future you can make your own brushes for different stuff, for different insert mesh brushes. So let's go ahead and do this. So we have our eye. We are going to go ahead and duplicate this eye. So we have two subtools now, and I'm going to rename this top one eyelid. Okay, great. And if you press the solo button down here, I have it on a hotkey. Now it doesn't look like anything's happening when you do that, but it's actually hiding the eye that is underneath. So pressing solo mode will hide all other tools except for the one that you're on. So I'm going to keep that on for a little bit because I'm going to separate this mesh. I'm going to split it in half. So I am going to find the midpoint of this sphere that I've inserted, which is right here, just by looking at it. And with that knowledge, then there's a few ways I can do this, but the most simple way is if you hold Control and Shift, it's going to pull up your Select Rectangle tool. There's a bunch of different selection and slice brushes up through here, but we're just going to go ahead and use the default that it's set to, which is the Select Rectangle. And I am going to click up here while holding Control and Shift and drag and marquee select all of those polys. And looking at that, let's go ahead and just Control click to mask everything and Control Shift click to show everything again. Let's see if that got the midpoint. I might have needed to go down an extra edge loop, but I'm just going to press Control W to mask that off, and it looks like yes, I needed to go down one extra ring there to get that midpoint. So we want all that, and then I'm just going to press Control W again and get a different color. And that's just going to polygroup all that as one piece. So now we have our two hemispheres. That's great. From here, what we want to do is Control Shift click this top piece, and then from there we are going to go to Split Hidden. And now we have an eye, a bottom eyelid, and a top eyelid. So from here, just pressing that solo button again so we can only see this. Having some trouble viewing this inside part of the circle, no problem. We can go ahead and go down to display, if I can find it. I believe this is it, yep. Display properties and double. Now what double is going to do for us is allow us to see the inside portion of our mesh. It essentially displays all back-facing polys, which I like to have on by default. So I have it in this quick little menu here where I can turn it on and off at my leisure. So from here, I am just going to go ahead and run a close holes operation because that is going to be the quickest way to get the result that we are looking for. So modify topology, close holes, press the up arrow key to switch to our other mesh and close holes again. Awesome, so we got both of those now. And from here, what we want to do is we want to rotate these pieces concentrically around this eyeball's axis. So how we're going to do that, it's pretty simple. We're just going to press the R key up here, which activates your rotate. So R, going to turn to the side view of our eye. Don't get mixed up, don't lose your orientation. And we're just going to draw a transpose tool about twice as long as the sphere here. It doesn't really matter, it's not going to be super important where it's facing. But then you're going to click this white circle, and that little white circle is going to orient it to the center of your mesh. And if I turn off symmetry by pressing X here and do that again, it's going to put it directly in the middle of our mesh, and then I can turn symmetry back on. So what that's going to allow us to do, and you see these colored handles here, these let you orient it to a specific axis, so I'm just going to click that top one, even though it was already oriented up. Turn back to the side, and I'm going to switch to our lower eyelid here. Have our polyframe on, that's Shift F. And I'm going to rotate this eyelid around our eye. And you might see it's a little hard to tell what's going on. That's kind of why I had the polyframe on. But instead of that, what we can do is we'll keep that rotation that we just made, and we will go ahead and inflate these eyelids. So let's go down to deformation, inflate down here, and let's go ahead and we already did it a little bit. Let's go ahead and just try a value of 3. Okay, 3, not quite enough. Let's try 10. Now it's being a little weird just because of the topology flow. It doesn't really know what to do around this area because of the closed holes. Let's go ahead and do a 25. And that should be good, and we'll do it for the top lid as well, 25. And we will call that good for now, and we can come back to it. Let's go back to that bottom lid that we have rotated down. Let's go ahead and just rotate it a tiny bit more. Then we'll go to this top lid, and we will also rotate that one up. Awesome, we are almost there already. So we have this top lid here, this bottom lid here, and from here, we are going to remesh these pieces. So we are just gonna go to our solo mode here, scroll on down to ZRemesher. I'm gonna set the target poly count down to 0.1 for starters just to see what happens, so that's the lowest possible value. And then I'm gonna click keep groups. And what that's going to do is it's gonna try to keep this edge as best as it can because those are two different poly groups. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we run this. Awesome. So that kept that edge pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing down here. 0.1, keep groups, ZRemesh. Sweet. That looks pretty good. Now with this, now if you remember, I had a bunch of extra edge loops around this area. There's a couple ways to do this, so I'm gonna show you a few of those. Right down here, I have the Z modeler brush, so if you press the B key, the Z key, you're gonna see Z modeler. Go ahead and select that brush. The Z modeler brush is going to allow you to do a bunch of box modeling techniques that you could do in a larger package like Max or Maya. So I am going to hover over an edge here, hold the space bar, and I'm going to select crease. And after I select crease, it's going to give me a bunch of different options down here. I'm going to say edge loop complete. Let go of that space bar and just click that edge and see what happens. And now it looks like it creased all the way around our mesh there, which is great. So I'm going to press the D key to activate our dynamic smooth. And yes, in fact it did. It did crease all the way around there. So that's great. We could actually just go ahead and work with that, and that'll be good. Let's go ahead and do a few more things just to make this a little closer to what we want. So I'm trying to do a mask here, so go ahead and hold the control key, go up to your mask pen, and instead select the mask lasso. You could also use the mask curve for this, but I just prefer the mask lasso. So I'm going to hold the control key, click and drag just like this, and it's a lasso select, and I'm going to select all those bottom polys. Then I'm going to control click to flip that selection. And this time, instead of rotate, we're going to grab scale here, which is the E key. I'm just going to click down here, anywhere is fine. Again, click that white circle so we're in the middle. That's perfect. And let's go ahead and press that E key again, just make sure we're on scale. And I'm going to click and drag from here. And it's just going to be just a little bit. That should be good for our purposes. Press the D key. So we're getting a bit of a lip here now. That's exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and do a little more here. I'm going to hover over this edge, hold the space bar, and go to delete edge loop complete this time. Delete all that. Now that's starting to look a lot better. Awesome. So we could do that to the bottom lid, or we could just duplicate this top lid and roll it around. So instead of doing this stuff twice, let's go ahead and do that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and make a few more changes to this top lid. So we have the position of this bottom lid ready for us, but we don't want to do that just yet. So we got this top lid here. Let's go ahead and delete one more edge loop. Let's undo that. We want that little lip that we're getting there. Now at this point, we deleted that edge loop that was here, and that's great. But we're probably gonna want to put another one in there just in case, just to give it that crease there. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to uncrease this. So we did crease it at first, but we get this little bit of an unnatural sharpness to that edge. And we don't really want that. So I want to hover over this poly here, select this, it doesn't really matter which direction this is facing, but I do want the edge loop to go this way, so I'm just going to hold space. And I'm going to select Insert Poly Loop, Poly Loop. And then I'm going to set specific split count to click that and drag that down to 1. I'm just going to click there, and we'll do it one more time just to see what happens. So if you look at this edge loop compared to this edge loop, it looks a little bit different, and that's because it's creased. So I'm just gonna select the crease with edge loop complete again, and this time I'm going to alt click on that. And alt click is going to remove those creases. So now this time, when turning on dynamic, it's looking a bit softer, so that's great, that's what we want. So I threw this in just in case, but that's fine. We can go ahead and select delete again and get rid of it. Now let's see how that's looking. Okay, that's a lot softer, that's a lot closer to what we're looking for. And I think that's gonna be pretty good for our general purposes. So let's go ahead and go back to our eye with our move tool selected up here. Press that white circle, turn to the side, and we're getting a little bit of weird axis here. That's because our X is still on, so I'm just gonna press the X symmetry, the X key again, click here, let's try this again. Boom. Alright, so I just needed to click and drag there. That's fine. And we're gonna leave this on for a sec, but up here I'm just gonna duplicate our eyelid that we did all that work on. Grab it. I could just roll this around and throw that there, and then we'll hide that eyelid for now. Problem is that it's not completely even and concentric all the way around. So let's delete that, and instead let's grab this eyelid. And I want to do a subtool master, so that's in the Z plugin menu right here. I have mine over here just for ease of use. And we are going to go to subtool master here. And you can go ahead and click mirror here, but if you have the subtool master button here, you can throw this anywhere and it'll pull up all these options. For me, again, I have it in that little pop-up menu, so that's great. I can get to that at any time, and you can click mirror over here or mirror in this menu. And then from here, we are going to choose the y-axis. The y-axis is going to let us mirror top to bottom. And I'm going to say append as a new subtool. And we're going to click OK. Now that threw that that top lid onto the bottom, and now we have that mirrored down below. I'm just gonna move that up the stack and delete that old eyelid. And I'm just gonna click rename here, and we'll call this eyelid top and eyelid bottom. Now we are all set to go ahead and create our insert mesh brush. You can go ahead and make any changes you would like from here, but for me personally, this is going to be good enough for our purposes. So I'm just going to merge all these back down into the eye here. That's great. We can turn on our dynamic subdivision levels, get an idea. of what that looks like. And if we want, we can just go ahead and, make a few more changes if we maybe want to scale up this eyelid, make the lids a little bit bigger. And how I did that was, let me just undo that real quick. I pressed the E key, and then I just control clicked on this eye, which will mask only that eyeball, and then I control clicked outside to only have the eyelids selected. And then from there I just selected that white circle again to put it in the middle and scaled outward a little bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and call that done. Now from here, it's the easy part. All we have to do is press the B key to pull up our brush menu, and down here you'll see Create Insert Mesh. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to make a new brush. Now, when I press the B key, down here I have a new brush, the Insert Mesh brush that I just created, and I'm going to click Save As, and then it's going to pull up a little dialog for you, and you can call that whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Insert Eye Mesh Brush. I'm going to save that, and now that I have that saved, the name of that brush will change, and I can go ahead and save that for later and import that whenever I need it, or even throw it in my startup documents folder so that I can have that whenever I load ZBrush. So now with that brush selected, I'll be able to throw that eye in wherever I need. And then I'll go ahead and show you a quick little speed sculpt here of me using my personal Insert Eye Mesh brush and how you can kind of use it in your own purposes for a stylized head or even for a realistic head. Alright, that's going to be all for this video, guys. Don't forget, new videos will be uploaded every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so be on the lookout for those, or just go ahead and click that subscribe button to follow for new updates that way. If you have any ideas for future videos you would like to see, please post them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And a question for all of you. What kind of insert mesh brushes do you use, or with this new knowledge will you be making to help you with your own processes? And I just want to say thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something new. Maybe got a little inspired to work on something. And I will see you guys next time.